So we touched a bit on how to grow, I mean, using the technologies to grow your platform. And there was a question, to grow your audience, sorry. But there was a question also in the Q&A. It's like, how do you get now more people to spend, to continue spending or to spend more on your product or on your platform? And I guess that has a relationship also to, you know, how to increase our ROI or driving performance to those who will actually be paying more, or just, you know, getting repeat customers. And again, just touching on what they just mentioned earlier. Again, iba yung behavior depending on the product. Some have a longer shelf life, some are very routine-based and repetitive. So again, may context naman yan in terms of product promise and usage. But maybe if the panelists can share a bit more, yes, what were best practices to get customers to spend more on e-commerce? If anyone wants to take that question. And Pauline, also if you have any insights or, you know, points of view coming from the DTI side.
Yeah, I'd like to ask in relation to your question, kailangan ba or do you have to be visual in terms of selling a product on the different platforms? So many constant problem with with a lot of our exporters is they want to go online, but nobody has pictures, or they don't have photo-worthy pictures of their products. So how important are the visuals? And are the captions important as well? Do you need some sort of copywriter to be able to explain your product? Or is it enough to just put, let's say, the ingredients and the certifications of your product and so on and so forth? What else can you do? I mean, the MSME, what else can they do to enhance the way the product is presented online?
Sure. Look, we may have different point of views here, but I'm gonna share what I feel like, right? So let's say if your goal as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, your goal is to go big, your goal is to be in the market, be in the field for longer term and dominate it, or at least be very competitive, then I think you'll definitely need to have good creatives. You'll need to have good copywritings and stuff. However, said that, we know the situation. What is very important is to start first, right? And I understand there are questions around who will write the ad copies and stuff. In my opinion, I mean, I also had my startup sometime back, a few years back. So I know no one understands our business or our service better than our own self, right? So feel free to get started. Write the description of your product as a caption, as a part of caption. Feel free to take pictures, some really nice angled pictures. On YouTube, you can see you can see and go through the tutorials of how to take angled pictures, nice pictures, what lighting are required. It doesn't take a lot of effort or a professional to get started with the basics. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say here is, if you want to stay in the game, you want to come and dominate, then definitely you need to invest in these basics, because what is seen or what is being displayed has a better chance of selling. I'm talking very, very broad here, right? So that's for long run, but short run, get started. I think we always say that, right, in business world, that perfection is the enemy of profitability. So don't wait for the perfection or the perfect ideal situation. Get started. Write your own stuff, click your own pictures, put it out. And a very short answer to the direct question, do we really need visuals? The short answer is no. You actually don't necessarily need visuals for all marketing platform or channels. There are certain channels, for example, advertising on Google doesn't require, I mean, Google's search ads doesn't require you to have a lot of pictures, right? It's just a link. However, once you click on the link on the website, you need to have something to display, right? So that picture, I mean, you need to see where you can manage. If you can click, it's fine. Otherwise, you can probably see some stock images, royalty-free images and stuff. So there are ways. So all I'm trying to say is get started with the basic, and then take it to version 2, version 3, version 4. But definitely need to, if you want to stay in the game, need to move towards perfection.
Okay, thank you, Tejas. Jim, anything to share?
Tejas really covered it really well. But agreed, super agree also na getting started is really the don't wait for the perfect, especially during these times. Parang he's right, you don't need images when you do search ads. It's just all text, right? And the advice I would also give is that sometimes there's also images or key visuals na meron ka before that you can repurpose, all those type of things. I think this is the time to be scrappy. I think to be able to just like get the message out there. Parang people right now are really more also looking into functionality, ganyan. So the moment the if you can deliver or you can fulfill is already going to be a big advantage. So getting that out there is really, for me, the priority. Just having, working with what you have, kung ano meron ka, to be able to share to your customers that you're here, you're servicing, you're able to fulfill and deliver. To the other question, yung how do you grow, how do you get them to spend more? That's so parang now, to be honest, in this stage, especially if you're starting out, the goal is really just to get yourself started, customer acquisition, just parang get the message out there, get some customers, right? Parang get the word out. But then eventually, what you want to do, where parang where the best practices are really happening when you try to like grow those customers, is really growing your audiences, really growing your data. That's where the data and audiences, those type of buzzwords really come into play, right? Na parang the more you do it through you can do it through parang collecting, basically getting that information in terms of sino yung mga buibili sa mga produkto ko, sino yung mga customers ko, to be able to eventually upsell or give them updates on your terms of new products. And you can do that through paid advertising, but you can also do it through newsletters or through emails or through updates, to be able to share na I know you are a customer of mine before, and you may not be aware, but we have some new products for you. So those are the ways for you to parang that's the principles anyway of how you can grow your customer base, grow your basket size per customer, and relying on the data that you're getting. So remember, we talked about analytics, ganyan. Those are the helpful tools for you in terms of you getting to that. What is my customer acquisition? What is the value that I'm getting per customer, or the basket size? Those are the first steps of getting it. Number one, getting the basics started, telling the people you're out there, but then setting the fundamentals of getting that information of who your customers are and how do you continue that conversation with them.
Thank you, Jim. Coming from yung responses ng panelists, I wanted to connect it to one of the questions. People were asking, do I really need a website, Facebook, or Instagram? Are there free website creators available? I think just to maybe give a very general answer to that is, I think the beauty of a lot of the platforms now they are inherently free when you start. Most of them will follow a freemium model. Free sa umpisa, kung kailangan mo nang mag-upgrade ng functions, then may bayad. But in the free mode, that's where you can really experiment. To Tejas' point, and even what I think Jim mentioned, testing lang yan. Go for it, try it, because you won't know. If you don't have a marketing team, you have no choice. So do it. Then you'll see based on the responses, okay ba siya o hindi. If you have a marketing team, lalo pa nga, you should be testing. And there are more sophisticated ways like A/B testing, etc., etc. Not to go into the technical, but there are other ways of testing multiple efforts or communication to see what works best. And usually those are built into platforms like Google, Facebook. All of their campaign managers already allow do-it-yourself campaign testing, where you don't usually, you can actually do it without an agency. But having an agency has benefits, but do-it-yourself is pretty much available to everyone. There might be different points of view in terms of the channels, because people are asking, kailangan ba ng Facebook, kailangan ba ng website? It all depends on how you want to build that experience, because Facebook is good at certain things, broadcast, content, etc., followers, but we all know that yung likes on Facebook don't necessarily mean conversion into actual buyers. If you have 30,000, ilan ba yung bumibili dyan? You need to understand. But having a website, you have to start exploring that, because you might be driving traffic to a website or using other channels to drive traffic externally to your website, where you can capture real information to start building your CRM, your customer relationship management, or to simply put it in database. A database where ideally nag-opt-in sila and they're saying, please send me more information. So that's one way of communicating. But at a certain point, once they've, have been locked into your platform and they're doing regular purchases, maybe for food or for fashion or for payments, then it becomes part of their habit, And I think that's really to make it a habit. Before you do that, you have to get them aware and test your communication and to see how we make everything happen. But I think going back to the question, so we're looking at, okay, you need content. Try before you get it perfected to drive people to your site. Ideally on your site, maybe going back to the question, how would you get people to spend more? Let's say they find their way. You've done everything from trial and error, or you're now going a bit more of paid. And even yung paid, there's yung optimal SEM or any paid digital campaigns. Again, testing lang. And you can start with 30 pesos, 1,000 pesos, see how it goes. But let's say if they get to your platform, how would you encourage them to spend more? So if we can try to answer that question.
Basically, yes. The question is that we want to extract more from the customers in terms of what they are buying, right?
Yes. So let's say, I guess they're different contexts to it. So let's say on Zalora, where it's a fashion platform, maybe the purchase frequency is different from buying, let's say, from a Grab Food or Food Panda or a fast food e-commerce, right? So it's different frequencies. But just to get them, what are thoughts or best practices just to get them to spend more? What are the things that will drive more spending? Regardless, I guess, probably the platform or the offering.
Right. I think this is fair. Well, there's no right or wrong answer to this. There can be different approaches to this. In my view, and this is probably not relevant for small businesses, but I think, yeah. Anyway, so let me share. So basically, personalization is very, very important. So when someone comes on your website, we need to have personalization as per the user segment and understand what their past purchase behavior has been. So dig into the data and understand what the user, especially let's say if someone has logged into your account. Oh, sorry, I'm hearing my own voice. Jim, can you maybe? Yeah, so I'm saying, yeah, so digging into the data probably is the best way to start and understand what your customers or segment of customers have been buying, right? So if there are kids, what are they buying? Or teens, what are they buying? Old women, young women, what is their buying frequency? What is their buying pattern? What brands or what particular product they go and buy into? This is one. Second, and I think this is very, very important, is to understand why do people buy at first place. So I can take example from Zalora. Let's say people buy clothes for various reasons. Let's say young people, they go on date, they want to look crispy, they want to impress the counterparts, so they go for clothes. People go for clothes when they have new interviews. People go for clothes when they have new relations. People go for clothes when there is a change in season, right? From summer to winter to whatever, right? People shop when they have to attend parties. People shop when they have to attend weddings, right? People shop because at office they need to look, tidy and neat and whatnot. So what is it that they buy for? And once you understand that, then I think you can address or you can trigger that aspect of their life, right? Because whatever we do, we basically, whatever we buy or whatever we sell, or let's say from user's point of view, whatever we buy is basically to either go away from pain or get closer to the pleasure, right? So these are the two things. So we need to understand this, what your product does. Does it make someone go closer to pleasure, right? Buying a cup of coffee from Starbucks is going slightly closer to pleasure. And there are various products, right? So DIY products. So maybe a clogger. Let's say you are a small business owner and you sell the drain clogging related products and stuff. So that's moving away from the pain, right? By using that product. So what is it? How does it fit in the lifestyle of the consumer? And then as a marketer, this is our role, or as an entrepreneur or a small business owner, this is our role to go and trigger those points and remind them. Sometimes, because nowadays we have marketplaces, we have e-commerce, we have products everywhere. Sometimes consumers don't know what they want. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, when they are in urgent need, they know what they want, but there are ways to highlight the thing if you only can tap into the lifestyle of the customer. And in terms of platform, I think, yes, digging into the data, especially if they log in into your platform, then you know that what they have purchased in past, what they, so for instance, you guys might have noticed Grab. Whenever you open Grab at certain time of the day, it predicts where you want to go, because every day on the same time you have been booking Grab for the same destination. You know what I mean? So I think these are small things which we need to really focus on to become a better marketeer and to address what people want. And this doesn't necessarily directly has an impact on extracting more, but in a long run, I think we'll end up with loyal customers who spend more with us. That's my take on it, but there can be other point of views as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Ted. I'll kind of just add a bit to that and maybe have a few questions from the audience for Jim. But as they just mentioned, it's using data to inform your decisions, being clear about the product, what it actually addresses, and marketing to that main benefit. I think there's a very certain things also, making sure that the whole customer experience from the platform, from purchasing, if there are refunds, are also very important. But maybe there's a very specific question in terms of quality control. How does, because that's important, as you sell products in Zalora, if you can tell us quickly, how does Zalora maintain quality control of your products? So at least it eases any possible, challenges on the buyer's end that, they might have a poor experience. So the question is, how do you maintain quality control of your products? Then I have a question for Jim after this.
Right. So I think in Zalora particularly, we have various departments looking into this. So what we basically do is we listen to the customer. So we have a dedicated customer service team for calls as well, and also addressing the other queries coming from various sources, be the delivery boys or offline or whatever, right? So every complaint or every feedback is a hint of what customer wants, right? So or where we can improve. So we take that, and that basically goes goes as a feedback to the operations team and the logistics team, and depend on what kind of the feedback is. If it's really about product, then it also goes to the commercial team, who can communicate to the sellers who are selling on our marketplace platform. If it's something that if the complaint or a feedback or the quality control related stuff is from our own private label, then it becomes a kind of a to-do list or an action item for our internal people basically who are managing this. So yeah, I think I agree. This is very, very important. We need to focus on customers' feedback and try to see that as a hint of improvement. So yeah, that's how we do. We have several departments. We interlink and pass on feedback.
Thank you, Tej. So it looks like, again, across the different type of concern, you can track it to a particular department, so you know at what point was there a pain and where to address it specifically. I have a question for Jim, but before going that, just reminding all of our attendees, if you look at your Zoom chat, there are a lot of great resources that have been shared in terms of YouTube videos, links to the resources. So please make sure you click those and save them as on your bookmark tabs, or copy these links, because these will all be very helpful moving forward. But to Jim, very specific Google questions. These are two questions. One is, what's the qualification or criteria for identifying that content is good? That might be very broad. What's good content? Meaning good content that will drive a certain kind of action if it's driving to a site, etc. So what are criteria, qualification for good content? And this question has come up, and maybe you can answer that as well. How much does Google ads cost? What's a minimum spend? I think is the question.
Sorry, just to clarify, yung content, is it ad content or website content?
Maybe you can talk about both, because there's the ad content that will click, but maybe also understanding as you click through and you get to the website, and if you're tracking, let's say, the landing of the website and you don't convert on the website, I guess understanding where there are pieces of content across the journey and where good content has to be present, I guess, to drive a certain action. Then what's the minimum spend? I hope that clarifies it.
Okay. So first I'll do the easier one, the minimum spend. So there's walang minimum spend. So for search, it works as a cost per click model. So meaning, if let's say you choose, okay, gusto ko mag-bid sa 10 keywords. So 10 keywords. So let's say 10 keywords natin, skincare, best soap, hand washing, ganyan. Ito yung mga keywords natin. When they show up on search, if it's called an impression, meaning lumabas sila, But if no one clicks on them, you don't get charged. You only get charged when somebody clicks on them. So it's a cost per click model. So that's why you get to determine how much you want to put in or how much you want to not put in. So you get to you put in a daily budget. So let's say for daily budget, I want to put 100 pesos, 200 pesos. It's up to you in terms of how you can do that. And when you start using the tool, it's called Google Ads tool. Meron siyang something called a keyword planner that can give you volumes that can help you determine na, okay, this is how much I would need but if I wanna be present more, ganyan. But in essence, kung anong starting budget mo, it's up to you to determine. Wala siyang minimum to be in Google search. So that's yan. Okay. The second one is the quality of the content. So I'll give one technical term here. It's called quality score. So quality score, it just means na how relevant is your campaign. Meaning, if I search for body soap, and then yung ad copy ba nakalagay body soap, yung landing page ba yung website nakalagay ba body soap. So the system looks at that. If nagma-match, then you get a good quality score. You have a better chance of showing up because the system says relevant ka sa search na body soap. If hindi nagma-match, body soap yung search, walang nakalagay, brand mo lang nakalagay, walang body soap nakalagay, you don't get a good score. Or yung landing page, walang nakalagay na body soap, you don't get a good score. So you don't show up as much. And parang you have to really pay more just to show up because walang nakalagay. So in essence, the way to get a good quality score is dapat kung pumili ka na ng, so step one is choosing the keywords, diba? The searches na gusto mong lumabas in. So pag napili mo na body soap, you have to create ad copy that addresses that na parang body soap and then put more details, do you deliver, ganyan. Provide all that information. The system will look at it, see nagmamatch body soap nagmamatch. When they click on it, nag-land na sa website or any sort of landing page you have, nakalagay ba body soap? Does it talk about body soap? Does it provide information there? When the system sees that na nagmamatch siya, then you get a good score and you're more likely to show up when people are searching for, assuming as long as you're still able to have budget when people are clicking on it. So to summarize, you don't have to think about it. You don't have to remember all the quality score. Just think about this: the keyword, the ad text, the ad, and the landing page. Kung body soap yung keyword, body soap yung ad text, body soap yung landing page, you're gonna have a good campaign and you're gonna provide a good experience to your user or potential customer.
Okay, thank you, Jim. So again, there's a consistency here. You're thinking in the point of view ng consumer. Pag they go from one piece of content to the next, are you saying or presenting the same thing? To make sure it's also logical din para sa consumer, di ba? Parang hindi siya naguguluhan or he doesn't get lost.
It benefits everyone, right? Parang even to you as the business owner. So quality score kasi the more technical terms yun, the quality score kasi affects also the cost per click price. The better your quality score is, mas mababa kailangan mong bayaran na cost per click. Sabi ng system, relevant ka, kaya gusto kong pakita yung ads mo. Pag hindi ka relevant, mas hindi pina-prioritize ng system, so you have to kind of bid higher para lang lumabas. So in a way, cost per that whole journey that I mentioned, it's good for the customer because they find what they're looking for. It's also good for you because you pay less, so you get more out of your budget. So for let's say 100 pesos, you get let's say 10 or 15 clicks. If you have a better quality score, you may get 20, 25, 30 clicks. Ganyan. So ganun yung that's how it works. So it benefits everyone in the ecosystem.
Okay, maybe just yes, Tejas, go ahead.
Yeah,
Tejas.
sorry. So I think what Jim said, I think makes a lot of sense for small business owners, because I think we are very in the beginning phase of the business, or especially when you're going from offline to online, it's very important to get ROI, right? So it's important to pay only for results, right? And that's something different in traditional marketing. I mean, if you book a slot in magazine or newspaper or hoarding, you just pay for it and you don't know who's seeing it. So this is targeted and you only pay for performance. But on top of it, I think within Google platform, within Facebook platform, and some of these major digital platform, now it's even possible to pay for the end result, meaning you don't pay until someone has converted, meaning until someone has purchased something from the platform, right? So we call it ROAS kind of bidding, returns on ad spend. So you can define, or TCPA bidding. Basically, you can define how much you want to pay for each customer. So let's say if you know your product is a 50 USD product, and you want to have probably 80% returns on investment. So accordingly, you can set your target bid for the conversion. So platform is not going to charge you unless they help you sell the product. Now, of course, to kind of get these kind of campaigns going, you need to have some sort of learning. I mean, your account, your campaign needs to have some sort of learning, so that Google or Facebook's algorithm can optimize. But basically, it's very much possible to optimize for ROI.
Thank you, Tejas. I'll connect that to one of the questions from the audience, because we're asking, how can you make Google ads viable or usable? Because they can be seen as expensive, but maybe you kind of touched on that also, Tejas, and Jim can confirm, because the reality is if you understand that how much your product costs and what margins do you want to maintain, you are pretty much seeing ano yung natitira, ano yung pwedeng pang marketing. And that's really up to you how you want to test that. And if you're going it based on a performance, it's a return on ad spend, or a cost per click, or it's performance based, then it kailangan matest yan. And that's where it becomes, I guess, affordable. Because if you talk about expensive, if you look at the total amount, mahal siya. It could be 5,000, can look expensive. But if you say that 5,000 is very smartly spent for clear conversion, now that looks totally different. I spent 5,000 and that got me 50,000 in sales. That is not expensive when you look at it versus 5,000 na wala nangyari. So I guess the question might be, or the mindset is, expensive, maybe changing the mindset of expensive versus what are your objectives based on what you currently have to spend. Then that's really your starting point. You can't do anything beyond that. That's the reality. So have that thinking, go into something, be clear about what you're willing to spend or what you can realistically spend, because you cannot go beyond that, because that will start affecting other items in your financial projections. But now, at least the tools for all platforms can be personalized. There are dashboards, there's optimization, it's performance-based. But just to connect that, maybe you can chime in, Jim, again. Expensive, what's the mindset for versus effectivity?
Yeah.
And just to wrap it, I think from as you answer that question, Jim, maybe if Jim and Tejas can also just connect that. It seems a lot of our responses have been from business to consumer. Are responses also relevant to business to business mindset? And after that answer, we'll wrap it up and we'll hand it over to Asset Jean, who will talk a bit more about our reboot packages. So yes, Jim, to chime into my last question.
Okay, so parang for me, the way to tignan ng search, these are people who are already looking for you, right? Parang there's already, and especially when you go deep na parang they're looking for your brand, or they're looking for your or their category, there may demand na, they're already part of that demand. So that's why generally, then that's why dapat nga you should really equate it in terms of the returns you're getting. So TJ made a great point na parang dapat you shouldn't be looking at it as just the 5,000, but what is the returns I'm getting for this 5,000? Because these are people who are searching for me. So technically, parang, I mean, intuitively, parang dapat mas better chance that you're able to convert them, because it's not like they've never heard of your category, right? They're searching for your category already. May demand na. So parang that's why you should be able to, these are a good source of parang filtered group that you can already talk to, because they're already speaking your language already. And to reach out to this other question, it's even more important when you're B2B, because ito very filtered yung search mo. Parang when you're thinking B2B, you can't think broad. You can't think broad, because parang there's gonna be marami kang masasayang na budgets if like broad ka when you have a B2, when you're promoted businesses. You're really looking for businesses you're looking for someone who will buy your product or service na business. So you have to really be, when you choose your keywords, you have to choose those types of keywords para there's no wastage and you're really getting yung sino lang interested. And that's why the returns from search can be really good, because once you're very careful in terms of kung anong mga keywords na pinipili mo, they should be the ones giving you returns, because filtered na siya, hinahanap ka na niya eh. All you need to do is really like give them that last nudge for them to really go to your product or service.
Okay, thank you, Jim. With that, just to manage the time, so again, at least just a point of view, the thinking for business to business, I will be handing it over now to Asset Jean to talk about the reboot packages in more detail. But our panelists are still on board, and while Asset Jean is presenting the reboot packages, I think our panelists may be able to go into the Q&A chat box to answer as much as they could some of your questions, which are all very good questions. But thank you again to our panelists. We're not saying goodbye yet. Just to hand over, then I'll formally close it after Asset Jean presents the reboot packages. So Asset Jean.
Thank you, TJ, And I'd like to, before I start with a little bit of explanation on the Reboot package, I'd like to thank Jim and Tej and also Attorney Ibs, of course, Edie Pauline and TJ for facilitating the session. I've been getting good feedback. I've been getting some messages about how substantive the session is, and I'd like to congratulate you all. I've also been looking at the Q&A, and yes, I hope that you'd be able to answer it while I'm doing the presentation. So to everyone, both in Facebook Live that who are listening to us now and also now at Zoom, the control biz Reboot session that you are now enrolled at now is really just one of the package of assistance that the DTI has developed for a program that we called a Reboot package for online SMEs. Perhaps if Carl can we share a slide perhaps? What we'd like to let you know is that because of COVID, we used to, prior to COVID, we've really been promoting e-commerce. But as we know, because of the pandemic and the situation that we are now, and the crisis that we are now, as Edie Pauline had said, e-commerce now is the new normal. No? So we think and we believe that in order for the SMEs to thrive and survive the current crisis that we have, it's really to encourage all of you to go online. So, sige lang, Carl. So, what's in it for me? If I were an SME and whether or not I am not yet online, or whether I am already online, whether I have a website or whether I am on Facebook, what we'd like is for you to start your business online or to expand your business. Now, the Reboot package is this is work in progress, no? But before we actually launch this with this Control Plus Biz Reboot Now training sets of webinars, what we want is to make accessible to the SMEs to make it easier, no? Para mas madali, kasi minsan maraming nagtatanong, mahirap yatang mag-online. Mahal yata yan, di ako marunong. So tutulungan po kayo ng DTI. Ang pinaka-importante ho dito, ang nakikita ho natin, bigyan po kayo ng impormasyon. Kagaya ho ng sinabi kanina ni Edie Pauline, hindi po kami nag-e-endorse, hindi ho namin sinasabi na kayo po ay mag-Zalora o kayo po ay mag-Shopee, Shopify o Facebook. Yan po ay mga tools na pwede po ninyong gamitin para kayo po ay pumasok sa online business. Ang ginagawa lamang po ng DTI ay binibigyan po kayo ng mga options at nilalapit po sa inyo. Kaya ito, click-click lang. Kaysa yung maghahanap-hanap pa kayo, makikitanong-tanong pa kayo, ito na lang ho. So baybayan ho ninyo in the first 4 days. Yan po ang ginawa namin. Lahat po ng ating mga platforms, nandyan po na major platforms natin, naging very generous po sila at nandito po yung mga time nila. At ngayon nga po, nandito po si Google at saka nandito po si Zalora. So ano po ba yung pwede nating mangyari dito kung tayo po ay kasama sa Reboot package? Napakiusapan din natin sila na habang may COVID, wala na muna yung mga onboarding fees. So libre na muna yung mga onboarding fees na yan. So ang importante lang pag sa tingin ninyo ay gusto nyong magpunta sa Shopee, sa Zalora, sa Shopify o sa Lazada, pwede lang pupunta tayo sa kanila at bibigyan ho nila kayo ng chance, no, para free onboarding po itong sa e-commerce platforms. Nandiyan din po yung Paymaya at ang GCash. Sinasabi po ni Paymaya na hindi naman ho kailangan na maging komplikado pa. Kung halimbawa po dahil nga po may COVID, ayaw na po natin na tayo po ay may maraming mga no touch muna tayo. Wag na ho tayong magbayad ng cash. Mag-online payment na po tayo. So andyan po, kaya free email invoicing. In the days to come, makinig po tayo kung paano po natin paano po tayo makakatulong halimbawa dito si Paymaya, no? Madali lang daw po ito ayon sa kanila. Pag kayo po daw ay nag-onboard sa mga e-commerce platforms, dahil mga kumpanya po sila na malaki po ang kakayanan, kagaya po ng Zalora, meron po silang mga tinatawag na mga seller support, parang marketing support na aalalayan ho nila kayo, lalo na po kayo, syempre mga reboot package, ano po kayo, aalalayan po nila kayo. Ang sabi po namin, tulungan nila kayo para talagang hanggang kayo po ay makatindig ng sarili at pag nakatawid na ho tayo dito sa COVID ay lalo pong lalago ang inyong negosyo. Ano pa po ba yung adang pwede ho na makuha natin bilang SMEs? Advertising support through social media. Yan po, sana matutulungan ho tayo ng lahat ng ating mga kasamas dito sa e-commerce. Ito ho, meron pa pong isa na alam kong kailangan ng marami kasi I remember this from ED Pauline. Si ED Pauline po ang Sitem po at saka po ang e-commerce office, nagtambal po kami. Nung kinausap ko po yung mga e-commerce, mga e-retailers, sila po ay tumatawag, yung gumagamit po sila ng mga delivery services. Namamahalan din po sila. So sabi ho natin sa mga delivery services, kagaya po nila Grab, nila Quadex, nila Lala Move, kinausap po natin sila ng DTI at sabihan, magbigay naman po kayo ng diskwento para naman po hindi mahirap, no, sa ating mga bagong nag-online SMEs. At finally po, kung halimbawa po kailangan po natin ng kapital, dito ho tayo, access to soft loans. Ang Department of Trade and Industry po through the SB Corporation ay nagbibigay po ng loans para po makatulong sa ating mga SME. So ito pong mga package na po ito, titingnan ho namin, binabantayan ho namin yung mga SMEs na nagtalagang committed na nandito po at nag-enroll dito sa ating mga webinars. At rest assured that we will call you as soon as we are able to see that all of you are really committed by being here and learning about all of the training packages and the seminars, the webinars that all of the resource persons have prepared for you. So next slide lang, Carl. Let me just go very quickly. So ito po, there was a question, I think that was Joey or Joy, asking about free website development. Ay mahalaga talaga po yung website. So meron na naman ho tayong isang kasama po sa Union Bank. Sila po ay nagbibigay ng ganitong klaseng assistance, free website development. So kung kayo po ay walang website, yan po, I suggest that you really go on May 1, UBX, I think Union Bank is there, and I urge you to listen and maybe ask if you want help regarding this. So pag kayo po ay starter kit, internet solutions, yan, sana ho makatulong din po yung ating mga partners sa PLDT o kaya din po ay sa Globe. Ano po? So there's loan, marketing, onboarding, online payment, at ito pong ginagawa natin ngayon, which is skills. TJ, I'd like to take this opportunity to again thank everybody because we really this really exceeded our expectations in terms of the number, and we've gotten around more than 3,500 of registration already. That's why we are on Facebook Live. So ano lang po, tuloy-tuloy lang po sana nating subaybayan po ninyo at marami pa po tayong matututunan. Free po ang ating mga webinars at kung sakali pong hindi ho ninyo na abutan ng mga iba, ipapost po namin to sa DTI e-commerce Facebook page ng DTI po. So again, I'd like to thank everyone who has been here and instrumental in making all of these things happen. And sa inyo pong mga SMEs, please reboot now.
Thank you very much, Asset G, for sharing the details of the reboot packages. And yes, we're wrapping up this session on marketing for e-commerce. So thank you again to Jim Gao, performance specialist of Google. Together with him supporting was attorney Yves Gonzalez, Google Head of Government Affairs, and Tejas Kirodiwal, Head of Growth Marketing of Zalora, dialing in from KL, and of course, Executive Director for DTI Sitem, Pauline Swako-1. So yes, all of this, everything will be on the Facebook Live page, so we can always review the recorded sessions. But with that, thank you again for sharing all of your expertise, experience, and insights to our panelists. Supremely helpful to our MSMEs. With that, we have another one coming up at 3 o'clock and at 5, so it's a full afternoon. But thank you so much to our panelists and to all our attendees, and of course to DTI for hosting this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll do a regroup, no? We'll do a regroup again.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.